Rachel, a lot of my clients have a lot of questions when it comes to the estate planning and who gets what and when and how. And a lot of those questions we refer to you. But to give you some examples of some questions, we have clients who, for example, they want to distribute to children who have disabilities. They want to make sure that they're taken care of. They also want to make sure that the assets are protected. Like I'll give you an example of myself. I've got daughters. I want to make sure that, if they inherit funds, it's not going to go to a boyfriend that they've had for 3 or 6 months. And it's very important for me to know that my estate and my legacy is going to continue from one generation to the other. So in light of that, what type of things do you sort of recommend when you're reviewing people's estates?
So we always have the conversation with the clients about their family dynamics, and unfortunately we've got to get really nosy and get all the juicy information. So it's important that we ascertain exactly what the clients are trying to achieve and protect their beneficiaries from. Quite often we get a lot of clients that come in where their children have a volatile relationship, or at least the potential for it to be volatile. Children that have their own businesses. So we're worried about asset protection. We're worried about relationship breakdown. So in terms of those two sorts of things, we always recommend that we start talking about what's called a testamentary trust. And a testamentary trust is a trust that's set up in your will. So unfortunately, when you get your will, it's not 2 or 3 pages, it's about 32. And it's a little bit overwhelming and complex. However, really what we need to remember is that we're building in those options to protect our beneficiaries. There's the asset protection from bankruptcy and relationship breakdown, but it's not 100% bulletproof from the family court. So as your children get older or they get into these sorts of relationships where us as parents, we can see the writing on the wall or the potential for that to happen. We should be really encouraging, and we can't make them do this, of course. We should be encouraging them to see a family lawyer and getting what's called a binding financial agreement in place. That on top of a testamentary trust is really our ultimate recommendation from relationship breakdown. In terms of clients that are worried about their children that have disabilities, Centrelink, the disability pension is means tested. So an inheritance is likely to impact that pension. And so we have tailored wills for clients that have children with disabilities. And the idea behind that is that we build in what's called a special disability trust where we can maximise that. And then any excess goes over into what's called a protective trust. Now, the special disability trust is not means tested. So that doesn't affect the pension, but there is a cap on that. But any excess that does go over into the protective trust, that is means tested. So there's a way that we can try and reduce the impact on the disability support pension. And then if we're talking about clients that are worried about their children with drugs and alcohol and gambling addictions, then we can talk about the testamentary trust, but we can we can add in a bit of control or co-control. So if I've got little Jack and, Jack's got a terrible gambling problem, I wouldn't like Jack to just get hold of whatever he gets under my will. I'd like maybe Jack and his sibling and an independent person to work together. Or maybe I might like Jack to just receive the income and the capital is preserved. Or maybe I just don't want Jack to have any control over his inheritance whatsoever. And so then it would be a protective trust where we're really relying and trusting somebody to look after Jack's inheritance for his benefit. So there's lots of different things that we can tailor for each individual client. And like I said before, no family is 100% amicable or there's, rainbows and marshmallows. So it's really important that we do get nosy and we do get all that information because there's so many different things that we can do.
Yeah, the tax benefits of testamentary trust
they're
are
huge.
Just amazing.
Yeah, they're huge.
It allows assets to be transferred from one generation to the other.
Yep.
It provides a protection mechanism so that in the event that you have a spousal issue, they're somewhat quarantined. They might not be fully, but quarantined enough to be excluded from things like divorce and those things. So you're not having a situation where your assets are being eroded away very quickly.
Yeah.
And the tax benefits are quite significant. So you might have a situation where you're able to distribute to each of the kids, say, for example, you get your assets, it goes into a testamentary trust, the assets get invested, and we do a lot of these within the financial plans. The return on that could be, say, 10%, 5%, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
So let's just say it's a 10% return on $1 million sitting in there. That's $100,000 worth of, income.
Yep.
Now,
Significant.
that is a lot. Under normal tax law, top marginal rate, you'll be paying $50,000, so 50%.
Yeah.
But if you've got 5 kids that it's being distributed to, you can distribute each of them $20,000. They can use that money to start building up their own wealth.
Yep, exactly right.
And the tax on that could be as low as zero if it's distributed correctly. Yeah. Again, see your accountant to double check in your circumstances that it works that way for you. But you can see that there won't be an erosion in regards to taxes. Yeah. This is being sort of reviewed and scrutinised a lot by the ATO because the tax benefits are pretty astronomical, but it does allow that transition from one generation to the other.
Yes.
So if you think about a child receiving $20,000 a year for 5 or 6 years, they're going to get a significant amount of money just sitting there ready for a house deposit, set them up effectively for life. They can then buy that house. They can use those, live in that house, continue to receive distributions, and it makes their life a lot easier.
That's a huge benefit.
It is. It's massive. And we've seen it change a lot of people's lives. Excellent.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, if you have any other questions, feel free to let us know in the comments section below. We do review all the comments. We don't get many, but we do review them. And feel free to like and subscribe. Also, if you do find anything interesting as well, best to speak to, you can either speak to us or speak to your accountants, your estate planners, your financial planners, or any lawyers that you do have to get proper advice. The advice needs to be tailored, what Rachel mentioned. The advice is just general in nature, but it will cause some triggering points for you to go, okay, I need to start really thinking about this and I need to sort of source that as well. One key important thing is that when you go for a really simplistic will, you will get a very simplistic outcome. It may not be anywhere near as advantageous as getting a really tailor made will. I know once you start adding testamentary trust clauses, the way that I mention it to clients is that you've really got to start thinking that you're actually setting up that trust now for them in the future. So you're going to be paying for those additional costs now in order to, benefit them later as well. And even if they decide to say, okay, I don't want a testamentary trust, I just want to take that money and pay my mortgage and do that, that option is still there for them. But the trust just allows, as you know, as we get older, uncertain events to occur, and it allows just these additional options when we start strategizing, especially from a tax perspective. Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel.
Pleasure.
Cheers.